The Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen. Brought to you by Medine's Collision Center in Baton Rouge. Take control, choose Medine's. Grosse Savant Lodge, south of Lake Charles, the true sportsman's paradise. Treads and Care Company in Central, the tires you need, the service you want. Harvey Auto in Shreveport, Bossier City, the name you have trusted for years. And Gage in Baton Rouge. Get better connected with Gage. Here's your host, Lee Brecheen.
Welcome, I'm Lee Brecheen, host of the Sports Scouting Report. Today we have, I think, one of the best coaches in the state, Matt McCullough, the head coach at Acadiana High School, the Wreckin Rams, in Scott, Louisiana. If you've never been to Lafayette, it's not in Lafayette, it's in Scott, man. What a great community. Coach, thanks for joining us. You're at home.
Thank you for having me.
Man, look, you are a busy man. I visited with you last year. When do you get time off?
We take this week right here where we get a little bit of time off, but once we get to next Monday, we don't get much time. So, we put in a bunch of work over the whole month of June and July to get ourselves ready for the season.
You are one of the coaches, and there's a lot of coaches, but you love the game. I mean, you truly are passionate about football. I remember, talking to you last year, coming to see you. The game has been really kind to Acadiana. The history of the school is incredible. Legendary Coach Dotson. I mean, Willard Hanks was there for a long time. Obviously, we've had somebody. Now you're the head coach. Your dad was on the staff with you for many years. Did you? And I'm not looking at anything right now, but I'm just going by memory. You spent mainly your whole career at Acadiana, huh, Coach, as an assistant till you became the head coach?
No, I was actually at Como High School for a while.
For a little bit.
And then I came back under Coach Davidson. And I was there for a while until Coach Davidson retired and then took over for him. Yep. So I've been back now. It's been like 10 or 11 years.
Unbelievable.
Like that. It's about 10 years.
But Ted Davidson, I wanted to mention Coach Davidson winning state championships. Just tell everybody, Coach, that are not from Acadiana area, that are not from Scott, the total amount of state championships at the school just in the last 15 years, 20 years, or overall.
Yeah, we've won 6 since 2005 and been to the state championship game 8 times. We've been pretty consistent over the last 16, 17 years as far as having a chance to compete for championships.
The offense that's run at Acadiana, that you've kept the tradition going. Davidson, I know that O-line, man, they get crazy deep down in their blocking method, and it looks like everybody on that O-line is in sync. What is it about that O-line and the philosophy of the blocking methods that is just unique? The run game, the way that y'all are set up alignment-wise is very unique in high school.
Yeah, it's a bunch of work, pad level, technique, over time, working on a bunch of little technique things that allow our offensive linemen to do some things on double teams and different type of blocks and then just getting off the football. Do a good job of getting off the football, having good pad level, and some toughness that a lot of people don't see with some of the spread offenses that are run today.
A lot of people don't realize that, I know y'all have won back-to-back state championships too. And that's not easy to do in high school football, not in Class 5A, especially the public side 5A in this state is brutal with Zachary and Destrehan and Hanville. And we go on John Ehret and all the ones that we've seen in the Dome over the years. But people think that the O-line at Acadiana weighs 306.5 across. That's not the case over the years.
No, we've had some big guys, but for the most part, they haven't been real big guys. Now, I think this upcoming year, we're going to have some big old guys. I think that'll be, but we've won a few state championships with guys that aren't real big.
Yeah, that's a perception that people think. They think Acadiana is this super Superman, O-line, D-line. It's not always the case. Every now and then you'll see an Ollie Broussard come out of the program, or Jacob Cotrera. That was a heck of a big linebacker, 6'4". Remind me of Bill Romanowski for Acadiana and LSU.
Yeah. He was a good player.
Y'all have had some great punters and kickers. Cody Mandel at Alabama. Y'all have had a great kicker that went to LSU. I mean, y'all have had special teams. Coach, what is it with kicking and punting? You've always got a great punter and kicker too at the school.
We do. We've always seemed to have pretty good kickers. We actually have another one this year, Aiden Reshore, that I think is going to be a real good kicker and punter, and a guy that's going to play college football. I think we got a pretty good soccer program, and we've just got a bunch of guys that that we can pick from, or we get to come out that become pretty good kickers. This kid right here's father is actually the mayor, and he's been the soccer coach for us for a long time, and I think he's going to be real good for us this year again.
You were bragging to me about him the other day. You were high on him big time. Coach, not bad losing 2 all-state punter kicker types and then having him come back. We're going to take a break with more of Coach Matt McCullough, the head coach of Acadiana High School in Scott, Louisiana. We're going to name some of the famous alumni coaches that have come out of the school, not just in football, but baseball. A lot of baseball kids have come out. I know your background. You got a baseball background as well. We'll be right back with Coach McCullough.
Listen, whatever you're driving right now, Tommy Harvey wants it. Bring it in to Harvey Subaru, Lexus of Shreveport, Bossier City, or John Harvey Toyota. They're paying big bucks for all trades right now. They'll cut you a check right there. Tell them Lee sent you.
Welcome back, Lee Brecheen, your host, Sports Scouting Report. We got head coach Matt McCullough on with us, state championship coach, Acadiana High School in Scott, Louisiana. Coach has got a background in baseball. Coach played at Southeastern. And let me name some of the MLB guys that have come out of Acadiana. Joe Fontenot with the Florida Marlins, former MLB. Gil Mesh, Seattle Mariners, 99 and 06, and Kansas City Royals. Luke Muntz was a really good player with Washington Nationals. Kevin Morgan with the New York Mets. Stryker Trahan was a heck of a football player for you guys. Baseball player. Arizona Diamondbacks, was a catcher, I believe, huh, Coach?
Yep, catcher.
Catcher, tight end for football back in the day.
He played tight end, but he didn't even play quarterback his senior year at Acadiana. Yeah, he was good. He was a good football player.
Yeah,
could really run.
6'1", 215. He was a big guy.
Yeah, he was about 215, 220. Big old guy. Really good athlete.
I got to ask you this, Coach. The regionals came out, and the first thing I thought of, I know Jace went to Southeastern. I'm looking at all Louisiana schools. I'm looking at LSU, Kennesaw State. I'm like, okay, that's a good regional for them. Army, they got that. Southern Miss, who's decent. And then I see old Southeastern, Florida State, UCLA, Auburn. Unbelievable, Coach. I mean, they're in the hardest regional in the whole bracket.
Yeah, no doubt. But they're playing well right now, so hopefully they can go down there and upset a few of them teams. But yeah, it's going to be tough. I thought UL was also in a tough regional too. So we got a few teams from the state and some tough regionals. So I'm just glad they're playing well, and hopefully they can go out there and play well some more and win some games in it.
Louisiana Tech and UT's not easy either. UT.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, they were number 1 at one time in the country, right? The Longhorns. They beat LSU really, really bad early on in the season. What was your experience like in Hammond, Coach, being a baseball guy? Now you're a football coach, but what was it like as a baseball player for you in college?
Yeah, I enjoyed it over there. Southeastern's a good school. Hammond's a good town. And then they were also bringing football back at the time. So the end of my baseball career, got to watching football games when they were bringing it back. So it was a good town, good school, and I really enjoyed my time over there at Southeastern.
Oh, Hal Mummy was there, huh, Coach?
That's it, Hal Mummy, and they had Woody Woodenheifer as a defensive coordinator. They had some good coaches over there at that time when they were bringing it back.
The Steel Curtain, man. I remember going over there and meeting with him, and I know Hal made the news the other day, but we wish Hal well. We know Hal's a good guy. He's a genius, isn't he?
Yeah, he does. He does a bunch of stuff with that offense that hadn't been done before.
Coach, what is it like playing the Rustons of the world now that it's kind of a new team in the last few years for you to play in Catholic High? It seems like those are two of the newer teams that Acadiana's been playing. And Those are battles. Those are wars playing those two programs, huh?
Yeah, no doubt. Ruston always seems to be the biggest team we play each year. They're big, physical, strong. You know, they run right at you. And I think they've been a really good football team over the last 3, 4, 5 years, and we got a chance to play them. And then Catholic, of course, is got some really good players. They're coached well. They were very athletic the last couple of years. Just two really good football teams. But yeah, both of those programs are run well. Both of those programs have good players, good coaches, and been some tough battles for us over the last few years.
Coach, what is the biggest, hardest thing right now for you as a coach post COVID? You know, post COVID, post hurricanes. Hopefully, none of that, all that's gone. But what has been the biggest, hardest thing for you as a coach since all that?
Well, I mean, it's been back to normal actually. I mean, going through that COVID and hurricane kind of makes you not take for granted being back to normal, you know. But because there was a bunch of things that we had to do through COVID and through the hurricanes and just different situations where it wasn't normal. You had to fight through and do some things that you normally wouldn't do. But we're just happy to be back to normal, be able to have a normal summer, hopefully a normal season, and be able to do things that we've done in the past to be successful.
What makes the Wreckin Rams so special? I mean, you can feel it in the air when you go to a game. I mean, it's packed. You can feel it. I mean, you can feel the adrenaline. You can feel it from your team, your coaching staff, yourself. I mean, it's just different. I mean, you can just feel the everybody's tuned in.
Yeah, well, I think the community really loves the program, really loves the school. You know, the coaches want to be there. We've got good players, and those guys love to be there. And, you know, we have a chance to compete with anybody we play. You know, it's just a good community, Scott, and the Acadiana, community, and the kids enjoy being there. The coaches enjoy it, and you know, of course, being able to compete at a high level and have a chance to play for championships is a big part of it too.
Also want to ask you when we come back, we're going to take a break, Coach. 4 teams, I believe, in the Acadiana area won a state championship last year or played for titles. Incredible for 4 schools, 7 or 8 in the semis just from there. I know Westgate won their first state championship. Lafayette Christian won a state championship. I mean, your program is always in it or winning it every year. We'll talk about Karen Crow won one a couple of years ago. And then I want to ask you about some of you guys playing college ball when we come back. You've got, I think half the Army team went to Acadiana.
Yeah, we got some guys over there, and we got some guys, bunch of different places.
We're gonna talk to Coach McCullough when we come back about Acadiana High School. You're watching the Sports Scouting Report.
If you need a paint job or repairs to your vehicle, go see Medine's Collision Center located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana on Kincaid Avenue. The number to call is 357-7983. That's 357-7983. Your Baton Rouge Accident Advisors.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Lee Brecheen, the Sports Scouting Report. We have our head coach, Matt McCullough, thanking him for joining us on his off week. Thanks, Coach, for that, being with us. Acadiana's got kids playing all over the country right now. You had a DB sign with LSU this past year. I think it's one of the best corners in the state. Came back from an injury, finished strong for you, great leader. Alabama, you had a kid sign with Alabama, go to junior college. Bob, who's going to be Walter Bob's a heck of a player. You had another D lineman that signed this past year. You had a bunch of kids that signed the last 6-7 years. I mean, a lot. They're all over the place. Army, you got one at Army. I think you have one now. You told me in Navy, in the Navy, from that was at Army for football. But Coach, talk about some of the guys from Acadiana. If any of the parents are watching from Scott or Lafayette area that you want to mention, and how they're doing, you know, in college ball right now.
Well, LT's getting healthy. You know, he's over at LSU now. I'm just glad that he's getting healthy. He's coming off a knee surgery, and I think he's going to do well over there. Like you said, Walter's at a junior college up in Kansas, Hutchinson. I think he's doing well over there. I've talked to him a few times, and he's doing well. We've got multiple kids at UL. Some of them been there for a long time. Braylon Tronhon, Jordan Quibido, who are both going to be big-time players for him this year, and a few other kids. Lucky Brooks is still up at Army and doing well. He's also coming off an injury to his shoulder, but I think he'll be healthy by next year. And we've got a bunch of guys all over the place that are doing well. So hopefully all those guys can get themselves healthy and then do well this season for their respective schools.
Coach McCullough, I was wanting to ask you this about LaTerrence Welch, LT. I met him at school with you. He walked in, man, quiet kid, great kid, taller than he looks on the field, so long, 6'1", looks like he's 6'3", carries a lot of weight for a corner, can weigh 200 easily in college. Coach, when he goes out for fall practice and they put him in the DB group, he kind of looks like a safety, runs like a corner, but do you think he could transition to safety, or you think he'll always be a corner at LSU?
I think he can play both, but I think he has the ability to be a corner. So we'll see how it goes, but I think he has the ability to play either or. He's also a smart kid, but he's long, he's athletic, and he's going to work tremendously hard. Coming off that injury, he's getting closer and closer to full speed, but I think he could play either or. But I definitely think that he's got the opportunity to play corner for him.
I know there's an opening for a freshman DB to play because they don't have a lot of DBs. And I know he could come in and play.
Yeah, hopefully he gets over there and competes for a spot. And biggest thing with him right now is making sure he's healthy and back to full speed, which I think he's getting closer to that. And if he gets to that point, he'll have a chance to compete.
I know UL got a gift in Trahan. He's going to be an NFL guy. Coach, he looks like the honey badger for UL.
He's one of them guys that just kind of is around the football and makes plays and seems to make big plays in big situations. He's been over there for a while now, and he's been playing well for him. And, I think he'll have another good year for him.
A lot of Trahans come out of Acadiana, a lot of Georges, a lot of the same Boziers. I know you and Trevian Boziers was a good lineman for you for a while, D lineman.
Trey's over there in Texas, and then George Cameron is actually at UL also.
Cameron's a big DN with good feet, huh, Coach?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a good player for him. He redshirted last year, but he's going to have a chance to be a really good player for him the next 4 years.
Coach, how do y'all evaluate running backs? The offense obviously runs the ball most of the time. Y'all do a great job doing it. Y'all perfect it. It's hard to stop. I know you need 3, 4, 5 running backs every year. You can't just have one in your offense. But when it comes to evaluating guys, when guys come out for spring, do y'all look for a certain kind of talent to fit that offense that y'all run? I mean, you need a lot of backs.
Yeah, you can usually tell what guys can play, and we usually get a bunch of running backs because we do run the ball a bunch. We got the luxury of having anywhere from 6 to 8 guys that have the opportunity to play at some point, most of the time. This year we got Kevin Williams coming back, who also is going to be a college football player. His brother was our quarterback in 19, and he's at Nichols. And then we've got some other young backs, Dylan Monette's brother, Cam, and then we have Hippolyte and some other young guys that give us the opportunity to have some depth in the backfield because we do run the ball a bunch. But yeah, we've had some good running backs, and we'll continue, I believe, to have good running backs the next few years.
Y'all do a good job too of evaluating H-backs, taking a small O-lineman and adding him to that extension of the O-line. I mean, I always notice y'all find a quick feed at 230, 220 guy, 5'10", 11 that can block on the edge. And it's always been a strength. I know Coach Davidson started that, and you've continued that.
Yeah, we've got another good tight end this year that I think is going to be good, kind of converted over from a defensive end, which he can play a little bit of both ways if we need him at some point. Ozzie Snelling, that's going to be a good player for us too. So you got to have a good tight end in our offense. If we'll run a little bit of wing stuff once in a while now, but a good tight end that can block and set the edge.
I want to mention your dad was the baseball coach at Acadiana way over 20 years, and right now he's an assistant baseball coach at Ascension Episcopal in Youngsville. But talk about your dad and what influence your dad had on you as a coming up, coach's son.
Well, yeah, I mean, I grew up around it my whole life. Actually in 1981, he started working at Acadiana the year I was born. So I was around Acadiana also for my whole life. And then, of course, around baseball, he was the running backs and quarterbacks coach in football also. So, just being around it and being around all the different sports that he was able to coach was, of course, a big part of me becoming a coach one day.
I want to mention lot of famous alumni from the school. I didn't know this. I don't keep up with the WNBA, but Sherry Sam, two-time WNBA champion, went to Acadiana. Seattle Storm, Detroit Shock, and Kim Perrette, Houston Comets guard, WNBA. Yep. 86. Coach, it's just athletes everywhere at Acadiana, man. When we come back, track too. I mean, we didn't even talk about the track guys, but a lot of track guys come out of Acadiana as well. But when we come back, I want to talk about those 2 state championship teams back to back and what that was like, how hard it is to win back to back, first of all. We'll be back with more with Matt McCullough, the head coach at Acadiana High School in Scott, Louisiana. We'll be right back.
Be sure to take your car and truck for all your tire needs to Treads and Care Tire Company located in Central. The number to call is 331-8144. Family owned and operated since 1971. That's Treads and Care Tire Company.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen with Coach Matt McCullough, Acadiana High School. Just a tidbit for you. As of 2020, the enrollment was almost 1,800 kids. It might be close to 2,000 now. Class 5A school in Scott, Louisiana. The school opened in 1969. Seems like it's been open since the 40s, Matt. I mean, that's not.
Yeah, it's just over 50 years because we had the 50-year anniversary back in 19 when we won the state championship in 19. But yeah, no, it's been open for a little while.
You won state twice back to back. Winning is hard. Coming back, winning it again in a row is really hard. But as a coach and your staff, what was it like between the first one and the second one consecutively to be able to win 2 in a row, which, Zachary, I talk to their coaches all the time. That was hard for them. Everybody wants the next one. As soon as you get the trophies, they want the next one, and the next one, and the pressure. But what was that like to get your team to buy in, 2 years in a row after you just got the trophy the first time?
It was extremely difficult. You won it in 19. We hadn't been since when we won it in 19. We hadn't won it since 14 before that. So it's one of them things where we're getting back, and we had a real good group, and we're able to actually win every game and go 15-0, beat a real good Zachary team in the semis and beat Destrehan in the finals. But then COVID kind of struck in February after that state championship. So it was a little different than a normal back-to-back because the ability just to be able to have the chance to play was exciting for our kids because you weren't real sure what was going to happen in 20. But you were also dealing with multiple different things that you normally didn't have to deal with. So that group I thought was extremely resilient. We only had school every other day. And we didn't have a kid miss practice all year in 20. They found ways to make sure they were there anyway. And then just the ability of fighting through some of the different protocols and people getting COVID and different things all the way to get through that December, which was actually a miracle in my opinion. Because, if something happened, you may have to forfeit, and we were able to withstand it and find a way to win the second, which was also, of course, an awesome thing. But definitely 2 different total years. 19 was normal, 20 was crazy, but we were able to find a way to win both of them.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I mean, you won it during COVID. That was crazy, that whole year emotionally for everybody. Coach, you look at West Monroe. I mean, they won many, but it's been a long time. I mean, it's hard to win a state championship. I mean, there's a lot of great teams out there in 5A. Not that there's not great teams in 3A, 4A, 2A, and 1A, but you got big rosters, you got big teams. Everybody's got a lot of talent in 5A on the public side. But like I keep mentioning, Destrehan looks like a college team. Zachary, West Monroe, Hanville. Look at Puka Williams when they had that kid and they didn't win a state title. Coach did a great job there. I mean, there's no guarantee. And it just the feeling though, but just talking to the Zachary coaches and the other coaches, I mean, it's Edna Carr, will join 5A. That even makes it even tougher. Edna Carr, who I know took on Catholic High a year ago, and that was a great game. And when they were 3A, but we all know they're not 3A when they were 3A, or 4A, but 5A. What is it like having Edna Carr join the group of what's already tough?
Yeah, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. They're of course a great program, and no, it's not a given. It's tough to win state championships at that level. It's tough to win a bunch in a row. You got to stay healthy. You got to keep your kids focused on the goal. Everybody gets to the point where they kind of expect it, but it's not expected. You win 2 in a row, and then last year we got beaten in the semis by Ponchatoula. It's a difficult thing. Our kids kind of understand the process of what it takes to have the opportunity to get there, but it's never a given thing. You got to go out there and play, and then of course adding Carr with the likes of Zachary and West Monroe and Ruston and Destrehan and all those other teams that are good football programs always makes it tough at that level to continue to win state championships. So our guys got to understand that, and I think they do, and continue to work so we have that opportunity.
There's some good programs in your area, like even Southside. They got talent, a lot of talent. Dutchtown's never made the state championship game, and they've had great talent. Eddie Lacy, Eric Reed, Landon Collins. They've never made it. And then East Ascension, they look like a college team. They've never made the state championship game. There's just so many good teams in 5A. And even Woodlawn looks like a team that could be some problems for a lot of people this year coming up, and they got a chance to make it for the first time. But Coach, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to get your thoughts. Think about what it's like on a Friday night for you. What is your customs? And I'm going to ask you, what is your detailed day like on a Friday leading up to the game? Because everybody's different. Every college, every high school coach has a different time to eat, a different time, a strategy, where you eat, what you eat, and think of that. I just want to see what your philosophy is on game day for high school football. Thursday nights compared to Friday nights. I know they're a little different. Thursday. Yep. We'll be right back with Coach McCullough, Matt McCullough from Acadiana High School, Scott, Louisiana. We'll be right back.
Gros Savon Lodge, the true sportsman's paradise. Gros Savon Lodge has fresh and saltwater fishing, alligator hunting, waterfowl hunting, and eco tours located south of Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give them a call at 337-598-2357. That number to call again is 337-598-2357, and have the time of your life. Gage has served Louisiana for over 40 years. Let Gage create a custom tailored solution for your business and become your partner in technology. Give them a call today at 225-753-4243 and help your business get better connected with Gage.
Welcome back. We've got Coach Matt McCullough with us from Acadiana High School. I'm Lee Brecheen, your host, the Sports Scouting Report. Coach, before we get to what it's like to be a coach on Friday, Thursday, I know the adrenaline starts at 8 in the morning, even though the game's not till 7 at night. It's really like planning a college day, but this question I have for you first. Out of all your years being a part of Acadiana, going back to when you were, your dad was there back in '81, like I said, with Coach Davidson and Dotson and all those guys, but who is the most gifted player you think you've ever seen come through Acadiana?
We've had some good ones. I guess the best I've seen at that level was probably Allie, but Allie Broussard. But you also had Micah, Eugene, who was able to play both ways and was a gigantic part of the state championship in 2010. And then Kevin Moore, who was also a guy that played both ways. So that was a big thing because those guys played every snap on offense and defense for a couple of years. So we've had a bunch of really good ones. But, overall, for a college standpoint, Allie was tremendously gifted.
I remember a guy that I think had the greatest game I've ever seen for a defensive end, Winfred Jornet.
You're correct.
Against Catholic High, knocked Catholic out of the playoffs that year. I think the quarterback was Jace? He went to Rice. Who was the quarterback? One went to Tulane. They had two quarterbacks signed D1, Coach. that year for Catholic. Ponder.
Was that Ryan?
No, it was DJ Ponder was one quarterback. He went to Tulane, and then the other quarterback went to Rice. But Jornette Winford had 6 sacks, 12 hurries.
He was tremendously talented also. He might have been as talented as anybody. And then, of course, Jacob Couture and a few other guys. But Wilford was a tremendous football player and tremendously talented.
Coach, game day for you. You know, and I've got to be real careful, even when you know coaches, you know what I'm talking about, when you show up on campus. You guys are psyched out on another level for the game. I mean, y'all hyped and y'all have y'all's layout of how you do things. I try not to talk to a coach after 3:00 because I know y'all are team meetings and individual meetings with the kids. Y'all eat. Y'all have y'all's, team when y'all go to the field, and then there's the Star Spangled Banner, and then bam, it's on. But what is it like for you game day, whether it's a Thursday night, Friday night? You got regular school. People don't realize you go to school all day and you play in that same day, which is a long day and night for you.
Yeah, normally first couple hours of the day, I'm going through a play sheet before we put the final copy of some of the stuff that we think is going to work that week. So like first, second, third hour. We have a walkthrough during 5th hour where the whole team walks through, and we do special teams first, and then we do offense and defense split and kind of do a walkthrough. And then after school, we eat as a team at about 2:35. We'll eat and till about 3 something. Then we'll break up and go into some different groups. Sometimes go do some film stuff, depending on the opponent, depending on the situation. And then after that point, we kind of relax and start taping at home, start taping about 5:05 because we walk out and usually get out about 6:00. Where we start. It's usually between 5:50 and 6:10 where we start to walk out and get ready for the game. So yeah, it's a long day, but we kind of got a routine that we do, and on the road it changes a little bit, but we find a way to keep it as normal as possible.
Where do y'all try to eat on the road? Because that's a big question. You just try to find.
We bring our own food.
Okay.
We got some people that follow and they bring it, and we usually stop at a place depending on how far it is, or if it's a short road trip, of course we do the same thing and just leave a little later and eat at Acadiana. If it's a 4 road trip, we'll stop somewhere in between, and we bring our own stuff, we eat, and then we'll just go and start taping when we usually get to the place that we're going.
The one thing I wanted to ask you, Ryan Lewis was the other quarterback, went to Rice, played baseball, and actually they beat LSU when he played baseball at Rice in baseball. Coach, when it rains, what's your philosophy as a coach? What changes for you as a coach when it rains really hard, fields are wet? You change game plan, or you go with your game plan if it's going to be bad conditions?
We don't change much. Our biggest deal is we bring a lot of footballs, and depending on the situation, we bring a lot of footballs, towels. We have a process if it rains to try to keep the ball dry for our offense. Because believe it or not, even though we run the football a lot of our exchanges are quick. We run some option stuff, but we like to be able to try to do everything we possibly can in the offense, even if it's raining. If it's flooding during the game, it may change a little bit of what you do, but for the most part, if it's rained before, it's not raining real hard, we can usually be able to run the same stuff that we're normally going to run.
I got to ask you this before we go: who's going to win the national championship in baseball, in your opinion? You can think about it. I know Texas was number 1 at one time. Ole Miss.
Tennessee's the best team I've seen.
Who's that?
I think Tennessee's the best team I've seen so far. But baseball is a different sport. Whoever's playing well, one guy comes out and throws really well. Anybody can win it, but Tennessee has looked really well, played really well, and I think they're a really good baseball team.
Coach, don't you think he'd make a great football coach at Tennessee? Tennessee baseball coach.
Yeah. I think he can coach whatever he wants to. He does a good job.
He's got those guys dialed in mentally where they just want to fight, but it's like in a good way. It's like a football mentality. When they come up to bat, they're just daring you to throw a bad pitch. They're tough. I love the toughness. I'm a football guy, so I love that that demeanor. And when sometimes they take him out of context just because he is who he is, man. I don't think anything's wrong with it. People don't like it. I think he's gotten a lot of people work because Vandy was dominating in Tennessee. And I think this is a little snag for them that Tennessee's doing well.
I agree. Tennessee, he does a good job though.
Yeah, they got a chance to smoke everybody. What, 5 pitchers throwing over 95, 4 starters throwing over 96, and they got a closer throwing 106. Have you ever seen 106?
No, I've never seen that. It's amazing. It's amazing how hard guys throw now too, because you wouldn't imagine that even 15 years ago. Yeah, they definitely have a good pitching staff. I think they're a really good baseball team.
How you hit 106? That the ball looks like a peanut coming across. Coach, last question. Teams coming up. You got a lot of talent. A lot of teams you play have a lot of talent. How do you like your team going into the summer?
I think we're a little farther along than we were last year. We've got 4 offensive linemen back. We've got a bunch of backs that I think can play. Quarterback back and another young quarterback that I think can play. We got some receivers back. The Babineau kid can play receiver and get in the backfield. We've got a couple other receivers. Defensively, we've got a few guys coming back at each level. We got 3 linebackers back, a couple in the secondary, a couple on the D-line. Biggest thing is to have a good summer. We've got a few spots where people are fighting for the starting spot, but we do have some depth in a few spots where hopefully we can develop some depth where we have really good backups. I think D-line is the biggest deal where we really got to develop some depth. We've got 2 guys that played a bunch and a third guy that played some. But we need to find 2 or 3 more guys that can definitely get themselves ready to play at a high level. So I do think we have a chance to be good. I think we got a little more speed on offense than we've had in a long time. And defensively, we've got some good players and some guys that need to get a few more reps and just get out there that I think could be really good players too. So we'll be able to compete. Biggest deal now is to have a good summer and get ourselves ready for that week 1 of the season.
Coach, I always notice and I always admire how fast the defense plays at Acadiana. And I know y'all have had Jacob Cotrera that was chiseled 6'4", 230, but most of your linebackers 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", 190, and they will just come up and just lay the wood. And I'm always impressed that you'll always find these linebackers that are like heavy DBs that can hit in space.
Yeah, I think the defensive staff does a really good job too of reads and making sure. Coach Romero, our linebacker coach, has done a tremendous job with that over the last few years. And we've got some good players but I also think that those guys on the defensive side do a really good job. Coach Sebo in the secondary has done a real good job with a lot of our guys. So I definitely think they do a good job of making our guys play fast downhill and get into the football.
Well, I want to say this, and I never told you this, but when I was a junior in high school, we played in the playoffs, and guess where we played? Acadiana High School. I did not like playing there. I was intimidated. It was a heck of a – the atmosphere was incredible. And that was 1988. And I'll never forget, we were from Baton Rouge, obviously, and we were going to Scott, Louisiana, and we had a lot of family in the stands. They said, this place is a lot.
What team?
Central High School.
All right.
Central High School. We were pretty good. We had about a 290-pound O-line and 280-pound D-line, and we were pretty stout. We just couldn't – the crowd, actually. We couldn't hear the cadences. We couldn't hear the plays. And since then, I'm like, you don't want to go to Acadiana in the playoffs. You don't want to play at their plays. But, Coach, keep doing a great job. You're one of the top coaches in the state. I know you love the game, and appreciate you being in the business, taking the time to always the time for us. We're going to have your team previewed in our magazine this August, as always, and promote you guys that aren't being highly recruited. Some guys, they're always under the radar, but keep doing what you're doing, Coach. You do an incredible job there.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me.
Don't go anywhere, Coach. We're going to end the show. The show will air on Monday. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on lafootballmagazine.com. And if you're a podcast guy, you can catch it on Podbean or wherever you get your podcasts. But we'll see you on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.